The ego thinks and assumes that other people will prioritize it, its needs, its wants, its desires, and will conform to that. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to Going Dotty. I'm Tracy Egan, and in today's video we're going to be drilling into exactly what the ego is. So let's crack into it. Fundamentally, when we break it all down to a single unit, I think one of the ways that we can describe what the ego actually is a personality construct. It's the way that an individual has been formed, but also has allowed themselves to be formed and moulded within the world. It's a state of consciousness, it's a state of perception that an individual allows themselves to sit in. And because we are all creative beings, because we are all creators in motion, we can say that the ego is a little bit of a lazy creator. Now, when we're looking at the energetics and the actual structure and construct of our energy, body and form, I will break this down into a slightly different manner when we colour code the different sections and segments of the inner self, the core of our being, and a structural unit that we'll have to work with, which we will get to in another series. But just for now, because the creator being is unable to mould the units of creation itself, the ego feels like it has to rest on the world around it and pull its resources from those people, places, events or situations external in order for the ego to be able to move in its life and world. The ego can't set its own events into form and into motion, and therefore it relies on others, it generates it and pushes its force field onto others, and there's this real magnetism when you're around an ego that makes it very difficult to extrapolate yourself out of that situation if an ego sees you within their inner perception as a target and somebody that they can have power and therefore a little bit of control over. So we can see that the ego is an inner construct, it's a personality construct, it's a lazy creative being that doesn't want to do the work, and it's all about the perception. It's all about how the inner eye of an individual has been developed. It's all about this lack of resistance from the world external that has allowed this sort of individual to just grow and grow, gather and gather, condition themselves into accepting that what they're doing is all right, what they're doing is acceptable, that other people don't notice, that they'll get away with it, that they're not really doing anything. And it's really interesting when we look at the mentality of an ego and an egocentric being, when we look at the construct of how they operate and how their conditioning system, how their inner self moves through the thoughts, and they self-gratify, they really look after themselves, they tell themselves these kind of inner narratives and inner stories that what they're doing is all right, they don't have to worry about it, nobody will notice, that they're entitled to get away with this, that they are better than you. And when it comes to understanding some of the concepts that the ego carries around with itself, we can say that the ego is, in operation, an undisciplined mind. It's a mind that's completely untethered from any kind of good grounding and sense of, their own value system or maybe a really solid moral code. So this undisciplined mind, one of the fundamental concepts of an ego is they're extraordinarily judgmental. The ego places itself on a bit of a pedestal. It likes to see itself to be in a power position. It likes to see itself as being better than others. It very much operates in this kind of dualistic motion, this polarity, and they are always on the right or the receiving end of that polarity. So there's an awful lot of, the ego is better than others, it knows more, it is greater, it is somehow exalted or superior over those that it perceives itself to be in a power position over and above. Egos are very comparative. It's all about what they have. It's all about what they want. They're very materialistic. They're very reactive to situations and what goes on. Their response systems are very automatic. It's almost like the program of their consciousness, the program of their mind, the program of their inner world is just on auto response all the time. They're reactive instead of being responsive. And we can say that the ego operates from a very deep state of unconsciousness. The ego is not aware of the world at large in a textured form. The ego is very myopic in its perception. It's all about the self. It's all about what it values. The ego is very much focused and concentrated on its own experience, rather than it being, me. I think the ego is much more like my energy, my experience, my life, my world, and therefore how does this affect me? When we piece all of this together, we can really see that the ego operates from a very illusionary world. It's their own internal world, their own internal experience. And when we consider that we all have a subjective experience, but then there's an objective reality, that which is truly going on between all of the subjectivity that an individual will have. Yet the ego doesn't realize that its life and its experience is subjective. The ego thinks and assumes that other people will prioritize it, its needs, its wants, its desires, and will conform to that. So they live in this very illusionary world. They're in this deep state of unconsciousness, and therefore they're not really able to bring anything of true value to the table and to the fore. And this is very difficult for people who are engaged in relationship dynamics with egotistical individuals, because it's very unfulfilling. It's a very empty experience. The ego is unable to share any resources with another person, because the ego has very little resources truly within the self to give. A really good resource of information by Eckhart Tolle called A New Earth is a book that is very much worth reading if this is an area that you're interested in. But a very brief summary of some of the key points that he makes about the ego is the ego is an undisciplined mind, it's very unconscious, and it is also the unobserved mind. The ego doesn't want to do the inner work of considering itself, of looking at itself, of figuring out its thoughts, of improving itself in any way. He considers the ego to be the voice in one's head, which is involuntary, automatic, and repetitive. And this feeds into this concept of, as mentioned earlier, the ego has this program, and it's just this auto response of the program. They're not conscious in their decisions. They don't have an event occur, consider it, and react from an empowered state of being or sovereignty, but rather an ego will just respond straight off the bat. There'll be no consideration, there'll be no internalization. It's just happens and response, occurrence and response to that. Tolle also talks an awful lot about the pain body of an individual, and that's a very interesting concept and metaphor to be working with when we're considering our healing and our healing system. And indeed, one of the elements that he states is that the ego is living with this great pain body, and in avoiding doing the work of the pain body is one of the ways that the ego is created. So that's it for today's video, where we're just looking in a little bit more detail at what the ego actually is. Coming from a personality construct, they're a lazy creator. They're not able to mold and work with the elements of life. And it's all about the ego's sense of self. It's their self-identity. It's how they want to be perceived in the world. It's what they're willing to do so that others will uphold their worldview for them. And because of all of these factors, the ego is something that we really need to be looking at and dealing with in our lives and worlds when it's affecting us. So that's it for today's video. Thanks so much for joining me. I really do appreciate your time and attention on this. If you could leave a comment, let me know any feedback that you have, anything that you'd like to know more about. Please leave a comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you enjoy it, and we'll get further into the ego series again after this. So I hope you join me again soon.